you guys had outlined was amazing.
Good.
So mine is now is my time to fully capitalize on my opportunities, abilities, authentic intentions, strengths, and talents to blow the lid off my old beliefs and mindset and be recognized.
Awesome. Awesome. So did you,
I
when
love
you
that.
kind of came up with that, did you like then dig deep? Like, did you go your 5 steps and that's what you ended up with? Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and it was very interesting. And I actually have on my entire island, I have all these goals and I wrote out your questions like what's holding you back to do it now. And so I broke it down. And so I come back to it. I think about it and then come back to it. And it's been pretty amazing to see what's kind of come up from that. So
I love that. I love that. And that's
yeah.
exactly what it's meant to do, right?
Mhm.
It makes you just sit down and you throw that first thing out and it sticks to the wall. And then you are
Yeah.
supposed to think and say, okay, well, why is that important? And why is that important? Till you get to the part that really moves you, right? I mean,
Yes.
like Bruce and I went through this as well. And we kept just saying, is that big enough? Is that big
Mhm.
enough to really move us that if this didn't happen, would it really
Right.
matter, right? And that's a really big eye opener. I feel like when you dig deep
Mhm.
and then you ask yourself, is this enough to move me? Like if this didn't happen, is it going to get me off the start line here to move, and to do more? And when the answer is no, that's kind of an eye opener, right? Like you're like, well, that's kind of what would move a lot of people, but if it doesn't move me, I have to dig deeper, right? And so it was a good exercise for us as
Right. And
well.
it's actually really feeling it. Yeah, it's feeling it where it's
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, that's it.
yeah, exactly.
I think
Anybody
it's a really
else?
good thing. I think it's a really good thing to actually get to know yourself, right?
Yeah.
And it's a super simple thing. And part of that we learned from Angela, our sponsor, but is just to keep asking that why question. And it's such a simple question, but it makes you dig deeper into who you are and what your beliefs are and really, I mean, that's where the big why came from, and it gets you to get to know yourself better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else do the exercise and come up with their why that they want to share? Okay. Well, I'll quickly share ours. We dug down deep, and we ultimately came up with our big why. I don't have it right in front of me to read it, but ultimately it was, our want is to leave not only a legacy for our daughter, to be a good person, a person that cares about and cares for people, but also develops the generosity to give back. So we want to not only leave a legacy for her, but leave a legacy for our community of, being those that give back, that give of time and money and whatnot to build communities, not just build ourselves and build our family. But that was what was important to us. Bruce's family is born and raised here, or he is, and his family's from here. And they were very philanthropic and very known in our community for being givers. And they instilled that legacy in us, and so we want to hand that down to our family as well. So that was really important for us. And I'm sure we could go 5 more levels deep as to would that move us if it didn't happen, and we may have to continue to do that, but anyway. So again, for
Plus
those of
plus
you,
from a selfish standpoint on that, we also want recognition, right? I mean, if we're being very selfish, we love the recognition. We like people to know that we're helping. And I think, that's not a bad thing. It's just like making money is not a bad thing. So, I think you also need to look at yourself and look at your answers and get a little selfish and do it for you as well.
well, the dig deep of that is that money, or let's just say volunteerism or whatever, is only good for what the good it does, right? Because if people see you doing it, we hopefully it spreads, right? And people think about that and put that in their plan and as part of their goals as well. So anyway, if you haven't taken the time to do your big why, I highly recommend that you do it. As Denise said, it is an eye opener. So you really figure out what makes you get up and do what you do every day, right? as far as those questions on your homework and asking yourself and going through the questions, before you really get into the numbers of 2024, any ahas from that you got? Nothing? Okay.
Kelly, I can speak just because I did this with a group yesterday and ahas, I think a good majority in the room start to realize that their mindset is really what they are trying to overcome. So we have these limiting beliefs that make us stuck. And so kind of with what you said with the why, to get unstuck, you have to be moved. There's the saying, right? And it's from our Keller Williams days, but logic makes you think, emotion makes you act. So when you tie the emotion and understand your mindset better, that's where the breakthrough can come. So that's what I got out of some of those questions from yesterday.
Awesome. Thank you. Agreed. Well, and even the saying that you said, if it doesn't move you, it's not going to make you move, right? Or if it doesn't move you, it's not going to move you, right? So it has to be big enough and you have to have the right mindset for sure. So the last part of your homework then was to try to gather your numbers. And I'm hoping that you did this so that we can kind of get a volunteer here to plug them in. But our goal today was to then take your goal, your income goal, and your numbers, meaning like your average sale price, your conversion rates, and have an economic model, which I will bring up in a second when I share my screen, to really take that top goal and break it down so that you know exactly how many appointments you're going to need per month to reach that goal, based on your average sale price and based on your conversion rates, right? And I'm still having Bruce work on how to share this economic model to you guys so that you can do it yourself, because we're not going to be able to do everybody's here. But let me quick share my screen. Let's see here. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this economic model is, again, from KW days. It's just a very easy model. It probably needs to be tweaked. Our friend Cal Mergen put this together, I think, or tweaked it, and I'm going to see if I can get him or someone else to build this so it's 100% up to date. So what we'll do is we'll share this link so that you have it, but you're going to put your name basically up at the top. I have a couple things in here because I'm with EXP and I have, there's some things, so we'll change it if you're not, or you can change it if you're not. So we're not going to worry about recruits or agent attraction added to the top line. We're going to look at what is on line 5, my desired income, right? What is your income goal for year 2024, right? So does anybody want to volunteer to be our guinea pig to use this and build the economic model online? Any takers? Okay. Well, then I'm gonna go with, we can use ours. How about that? So our desired income for this year, I know it looks big, but it's my desired income, is 600,000 for the year. Okay. And actually, maybe I should there's a lot of single agents that aren't a husband-wife team here. Maybe I should just start with, we'll just use a generic here. So we'll just go, let's say your goal is 300,000 for the year. Okay. So 300,000 is what you're hoping to make for your total amount of income before any expenses and everything. That's your income goal, your GCI, for 2024. Now, not everybody on here is with EXP or with a brokerage that has a cap. If you are, line 6 is where you're going to fill in your cap that your company charges. Okay. If you do not have a cap, that would be 0. Okay. I'm at EXP, so my cap is 16,000. Okay. If you are on line 7, if you are at a brokerage where you have a royalty that you pay in every year, you would want to put that royalty cap on line 7. EXP does not have a royalty cap, so I'm going to leave that as 0. Okay. But if you do have one, like you're with a larger company that has that royalty or that franchise fee cap, that's where you would put this number in. Okay. Any questions so far? Pretty simple.
Hey, Cal, I did put that that shareable link or that editable link to this in the chat, so you
Okay.
guys can just pull it off. And please let me know if you're able to put your own information in there after Kelly gets done with his presentation.
Awesome. So we've established your income goal, and if there are any caps that your company will take as far as company dollar or royalty. Okay. Now here's where you're going to get into some of your numbers. So when we look at listings versus buyer deals or transactions that you do, number 9 is where you should know your numbers. How much of your business do you do for listings, you know, percentage wise, and how much do you do for buyers? So I just have a preload of 50-50, but I know for Bruce and I, we do 60% of our business is listings and 40% of it is buyers. If you do 50-50, if you do 75-25, whatever your percentage is, here's where you want to fill in, you know, the amount of listing business you do and the amount of buyer business you do. Okay. Some of you may be buyer's agents or strictly work with buyers, so that number's going to be a lot higher. Some of you are strictly listing people, that number's going to be higher, but you want it to be accurate so that you're going to get the most accurate number on the bottom. Okay. Any questions on that? Perfect. So what this is saying is that if my goal is $300,000 for the year and I do 60% of listings, then that annual income should be 180,000 from listings. And if I do 40% buyer transactions, 120,000 income will be buyer related. Okay. So the next question is, what is my average listing taken price? So Bruce and I, if ours is, let's just say 400,000, that's our average listing that we take. Then what's that's when we take the listing. That doesn't mean that's what it closes at and what the actual sale price is, right? So that's our average listing. But on line 12, we're going to actually put down what our average closed price is for our listings and what our average closed price is for our buyers, right? So if our average listing or sales price ends up being, I'm just going to throw in 390 for our list price. Okay. And if our average buyer is 375, let's say, because I don't have my numbers in front of me, so sorry guys. Then what that's telling us is here's really what the volume is going to be right at the end. That helps us determine volume to reach that sales goal. Okay. So knowing your average sales price is really going to help dictate what your activities do as we drill this down further. Okay. So this is why knowing your numbers is super important. So you want to put in your average closed listing and your average closed buyer transaction on line 12. And Angela, I know you teach this all the time, so feel free to jump on in if there's something I'm missing to talk about too. So then what's even more important, because how you determine your income is going to be what your commissions are, right? And what your average take on commission is per transaction. And we know every area across the country can be different. Even from listing commissions taken to buyer commissions taken can be very different. So you need to know what your average commission is when you look at 2023. You know, what did you average per listing commission and what did you average per buyer commission on line 13? So just for example purposes, I'm going to say on my listings, I get an average of 3%, but on my buyers, I'm going to get an average of 2.7%. Okay. You're going to fill in what your numbers are. This is just a sample. Okay. This is not telling you what to use for your commissions. I'm just telling you, put in your averages. So that's why you need to know your numbers. So,
Hey, Kel, real quick.
Yeah.
If you're also a new agent and you don't have like an average sale price, or the average commission, you can get a lot of this information as averages from your local MLS.
Right.
they should have reports that you could just print out, and for their area, for your specific area, you will have like average sale price, average commission percentage, and average list price taken. So you can decide just how much you want to make, and then you can plug in those local averages, and then you can see what all the numbers end up being. So don't think that you're stuck here if you don't have or don't know your own numbers. Okay.
Yep. So line 13 is your average commissions earned. Then this automatically calculates to what that would be, right? At 390, 3% of that would be 11,700. Okay. So that some of this economic model spreadsheet auto calculates for you. So the next thing you would want to fill in is on line 15, whatever your split is with your brokerage, right? So if you have an 80-20 or a 60-40 or 70-30, whatever that split is with your company, you want to put in your share of that split. So I'm just using an 80-20 for the purposes of this calculation. That's what EXP is, an 80-20 split. So 80% would be the agent share for the commission split. Okay. So then what auto calculates, once you put in your agent share of commission, it's going to auto populate the agent's company dollar paid. So you're 20% paid in. And then if there's any royalty, which this is what I need to get fixed, is because I put a 0 up here. There should be no royalty here, but so disregard line 17. I apologize. Line 18 then shows your average commission that you make. So based on your average listing sale price, your average take is going to be 86.58 based on this model. And your average buyer sale of 375, if you average 2.7 commission after company splits, you'll be taking in 74.93. Okay, makes sense? Okay. So this is basically just giving you a quick bird's eye view of, based on my average sale price, how much commission I'm bringing in after my brokerage takes out their portion. Now, some of us work at companies that charge a broker administrative fee or have a transaction fee. Okay. So if you charge that, if you don't keep any of that, I would not put anything in here. Okay. If you do charge a transaction fee and you keep that as, you know, a fee or income to your team to help cover all of your costs, you know, behind the scenes, then you can put that in here. Okay. Now, I'm going to do this one without a transaction fee right now. And then I'm going to show you, you know, if you are at a company that does charge that, I'll show you how that can make a difference to your income. Okay. So right now we're not going to put in, I know there's a lot of brokerages out there that have a BAC, but it's not something that you keep as income. It goes to the brokerage. So that's why we're just going to leave that blank right now. Okay. So we've put in our general numbers. What now comes down, or what we come down to, is looking at that breakdown. How does that break down to show you the activities that you're going to need to do? Okay. So what this is saying is the numbers of units that close based on what you put up here, okay, is showing you that you need to have 15 listings closed and 12 buyer transactions closed to basically hit your income goals, okay, that you plugged in above. Now, if you closed these, what is your percentage of close once you've taken a listing and once you've taken a buyer rep? How many of those close? So I'm putting in my numbers here. If I take a listing, 90% of those close. Some of them don't close, some of them expire, some of those, you know, canceled. They got, you know, they didn't get what they wanted, they canceled, right? So this, I have a 90% turnover from if I take a listing to close. Okay. With buyers, I have a 97% conversion to, if I put them under buyer rep, to closing them on an actual transaction, right? We've written an offer, we've closed that. Okay. So based on my conversion numbers here, what it's saying is, if I got 15 listings to close at 90%, that means I actually have to take 17 listings, right? Because if I take 17 listings and only 90% close, that means I'm only going to have 15 closed at the end of the year. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Same with buyers. If I need to close 12 buyers and my conversion rate is 97%, that seems kind of weird that I should have probably maybe 13 here, shouldn't it? Okay. Anyway, pretty darn close to 100% of my stuff is closing. So maybe 12 or 13 deals I would have to take to be able to officially close 12 here. Okay. So the other part of this, as we break it down, means monthly listings taken. So if I need to annually close or take 17 listings, I need to at least take 1.4. So we'll round that up because there's no way to take a 0.4 listing. I need to take 4 listings every month. Okay.
You need to take 2
I'm sorry.
listings
I'm
every
sorry. I
month.
said 4. I need to take two listings every month to meet my 17 listings taken a year. I need to take 1 buyer contract written every month to meet my annual goal of 12. Does that make sense? So if I take 1 buyer contract every month, I'm going to have 12 at the end of the year. And based on my conversion rate, I should close about 12 by the end of the year. If I take 2 listings every month, I should meet my goal of 17 by the end of the year, convert 90% to a full close, which would give me my 15 per year. Does that make sense? Okay. Anybody have questions? I know it's kind of confusing, especially if you're not a numbers person. We'll work this back from the bottom up when we're all done. So the other thing you need to put in here on line 28 is your conversion rate for appointment to contract. This is super important. So if you go on an appointment, do you convert every single one of those appointments to a contract or not? If I go on a listing appointment, do I convert every listing appointment to a contract? If so, then I'm 100%. If I don't convert it, what's my conversion rate? This to me is probably one of the most important numbers that you need to know for your business. Okay. Because you need to know if you go on 10 appointments, if you convert only 60%, that means you're only really taking 6. If I go on 10 appointments, 60% means 6 contracts that I'm actually writing, right? If you don't know what that conversion rate is, you're really never going to have real numbers. Okay. If you're newer or you haven't tracked your numbers to this point in time, I would tell you to use 60%. Okay. So my conversion rates are a lot higher than this, but I'm going to just leave in 60%. Okay. And you may have a really high number on one side of this and a lower number on the other side, right? What the reality of these numbers are, if you haven't tracked them, is going to help you know where you need to focus your trainings on, right? Maybe I need to get better with listings. Maybe I'm a rock star at buyers, but I really just have a hard time converting my listing appointments to a contract. Maybe there's someone in your area that dominates your market. And every time you're up against them, you just don't win that listing or you don't win that buyer rep contract, right? So this is going to teach you where you need to focus your trainings on. But it is important for you to know. And if you don't know how to figure this out, I can chat with you offline. You know, basically, you're just going to look at how many, hopefully you're tracking your appointments, right? You're tracking your listing appointments, you're tracking your buyer appointments, and then you're tracking how many listings you took. Super easy to figure out your conversion rate, right? How many appointments did you go on before you, and how many listings did you actually take? Divide that out. There's your conversion. Okay. So we'll just use 60%. So this auto populates. And what this says is that I will need 28 listing appointments every year, or 2.4. So I'll round that up to 3 every month to hit my listing goal. Okay, so let's just work this backwards. Based on the conversion numbers I put in, what this is saying is 3 monthly listing appointments should turn into 28 annual appointments needed, because my conversion is only 60%, which means if I have 28 appointments converted at 60%, will basically give me the numbers that I need to trickle on up to give me 15 closed listings every year, or I mean, for the year. Does that make sense, you guys? Okay. And same with buyers. Based on my conversion percentages that I put on line 25 and line 28, this is telling me that I need 2 monthly buyer appointments to then give me 20 annual buyer appointments converted and breaking down based on my conversion rates to give me closed transactions of 12 for the year. And again, a lot of this just auto populates once you put in your annual, your annual average sale price and your conversion rates. The cool thing about this economic model is it does the work for you. It just will break it down and tell you how many appointments that you need. Okay. What this doesn't do, and I'm going to have you make a note, is take it to the next level of this is telling you how many appointments you need per month. What this economic model doesn't tell you is how many contacts do you need to make a day to get to that appointment, right? So I'm going to have you make a note that use a conversion, unless you know what your conversion rate is from a call to an appointment, use 2%. Okay. I use 2% because, believe it or not, it's hard. Unless you are phenomenal at scripts and phenomenal at closing people on the phone or cold calls or knocking, on the doors and whatever you do on your lead generation to convert, use 2%. Okay. So what I mean by that is the monthly appointments. Bruce, well, how did we figure this out? We went from monthly appointments or annual appointments. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just take one side or the other, do listings or buyers. So if you take
No,
buyers,
you combine them.
20,
You combine them. So we'll take,
right. So you have 48. So you have listings and buyers, annual appointments needed.
yep.
So you have 48 that you need every month. And if you divide it by 2%, that means you have 2,400 contacts per year that you need to make to get those 48 appointments.
Okay.
At a 2% conversion.
So that's 2,400 contacts a year. Now, they tell you to use about 260 days because we take out weekends and holidays and all that good stuff, right? So if you take that 2,400 and you divide it by 260 days, what does that give us, Bruce, per day?
It's a little over 9 contacts a day.
So little over 9, let's round it up.
So the question is, 10.
Round it up.
Yeah.
10 contacts a day is what you would need to make based on a 2% conversion rate of I'm in front of 10 people a day. I convert 2%. If I do that on a daily basis, I should hit my monthly appointment goal of 3 listings and 2 buyers, which then will trickle up to meeting my annual goal and closed volume goals. Okay. So that's the way to break it down. Fill out your economic model with your sale price, your conversions. And then once you get to this monthly appointments needed right here on line 29, you add those up, divide them by 2%, and then divide that number by 260. And that's going to give you what you need per day for daily contacts. Okay. And this number is going to be really important because next week, when we dig deep into our strategy of how we get those 10 contacts and how we reach those monthly goals, we're going to be building our plan and our strategy using tools which are like a 4-1-1 and a 1-3-5 strategy plan, which I don't want to go into now, but We're going to really develop your plan next week based on these numbers. So I want you guys to take some time to, if you haven't yet figured out your numbers, to figure out your average, your total income goal, and then your average sale price, right? Per listing, per buyer, and really know your conversion rates. And if you don't take the time to do that, then these are just numbers in the wind. They don't mean anything. They're somebody else's numbers, right? And I'm going to be very transparent and say, don't pat yourself on the back and give yourself a higher number just to make yourself feel good, right? The reality is in the numbers. And like I said before, if you calculate, boy, it took me, 30 calls to make an appointment, learn that conversion rate. If it took you 30 appointments to get a contract, that's your conversion rate. And that's the only way you're going to have an accurate map of what you need to do to achieve your goals. Okay.
And the other thing that this shows you is very simply, to make $300,000 a year, you need to make 10 contacts a day. If you're in real estate, who can't make 10 contacts a day? Right. Somehow.
Based on these average sale prices. Yes.
Right. And that's not just all cold calls. That could be running into people in the grocery store. That could be at a social event. It could be anything. But what this makes a discovery about you and yourself is that the percentage numbers can be manipulated, or the conversion numbers can be manipulated as you get better. And as those percentage numbers go up, that 10 contacts a day goes down, right? It doesn't mean that you have to do less than 10 contacts a day. It just means that the better your conversion numbers get, once you know your own, right, the more money you can make by doing the same amount of work.
Right. Yeah. And this breaks it down to the simple, right? If you just start with, boy, my income goal is 300,000, but you don't really know what that means. It's so much more, inundating, right? Like, where do I even start? What this does for you is it just breaks it down to the super simple, right? Now I know I just need to make 10 contacts a day. If my conversion rates that I put in here are accurate, I just need to make 10 solid contacts face-to-face or a really good phone conversation every day to set the number of appointments that I need to set to close the number of, to get the number of contracts, to close those number of deals to meet my goal. So you don't have to keep thinking 300,000. You just have to say 10 contacts a day, right? Or 2 appointments a month. That's the simplicity of it. Like, just breaking it down to something super easy. Okay.
And feel good about yourself, however these numbers shake out, right? Because they're your numbers. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that matters is you improving yourself. Right. So if your contacts per day are 15 or 20 or 25, it doesn't matter, right? Just make those and then get better at the conversion rates, so that those, if you're comfortable doing that amount, what will happen is your income will go up. If you're not comfortable doing 20 or 25 contacts a day, then you could do less to make the same income. It doesn't matter. It's however you want it to shake out, but be okay with the numbers that you come up with.
Right. And so once you've kind of filled all that in, the nice part is then at the bottom here, it'll show you, this is, to reach that goal, you got to have 27 closed units. Your volume based on your average sale price should be right around this 10.5 million. Your annual gross commission, you should be at that 300,000. This would be your cap, which is what I put up above for me, because that's EXP is $16,000 cap, right? So if I make 300,000 gross annual income and I pay in my company dollar of 16,000, then I will walk away. My net income should be 284 for the year, right? Now, this doesn't take into consideration any expenses that you have for lead generation and things like that, which the nice thing about this economic model, if we go up to the top later, you can go in and plug your numbers as far as what you spend on those things and your expenses and calculate all of that. And then, that number will trickle down here. So you can really see your total net income when it's all said and done. But for simplicity purposes, this is just helping us break down. If you have an annual income goal, gross income goal, what it's going to take, how many appointments it's going to take and how many daily calls it's going to take. Okay. So now if you go back up, I'm just going to show you here. This is kind of fun for me to show you, at EXP, I charge a transaction fee. Okay. And I keep that. I'm at a brokerage that allows me to do that. So I want to just show you, if you were to do that and you added that income to your bottom line, that's going to show up right here on line 360 or 36. So if I made 300,000 gross GCI, I added that transaction fee income to help offset my costs, right? For hiring those services out, minus my cap. Now my net income is 297,614 versus the 284. Make sense? So again, if you're at a brokerage where you do have a transaction fee that you're able to keep a portion of that or all of it, that's where you can add that additional income to your net income goal.
Now, just as a quick little caveat on that transaction fee, we at EXP, we don't get to keep 100% of that. We get to keep most of it. Okay. So if you have questions, just let us know. But that just shows you how you can make additional income over and above this. I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about that at this point in time, especially if you're just putting your numbers in. But just remember, if you do have that transaction fee that you do charge and you are able to keep a portion of it, plug that number in because it makes a difference on your bottom line.
Yep.
Ellie?
Yeah.
Can you reverse engineer the daily contacts needed and what numbers you use? I just want to make sure I'm following it. I followed everything else.
Yep. So on line 29, where it's
Okay.
showing your total appointments needed, okay, you're going to add these two together. So
Okay.
whatever. So in this scenario here, we have 48 appointments needed. We divide that number by a 2% conversion rate. I'm using a 2%. And that's low, obviously,
Okay.
but if you're better at converting your calls to an appointment, then you're going to use your conversion rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So divide that by 2%.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to give you your annual number of calls. Okay. So if we use this example, it's 48 appointments divided by 2% gives us 2,400 calls or contacts we have to make per year. Now, divide that number by 260 days. That's the average that they say most of us will work. If we minus out weekends and holidays, we actually are working roughly 260. If you work 365, have at it, use that number. But if you divide 2,400 by the 260, that's going to give you your 9 point whatever. And we'll just round it up to 10 contacts per day that you're working.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I know it's kind of confusing. We're throwing a lot of numbers out here. And if you're not a numbers person, which I am not, I get it. So again, if you guys have questions, let us know. But it's a very simple little economic model, that plug and play, right? That you can put in, again, using your accurate numbers. And if you really are a numbers guy, you can go on over to this other side over here to plug in all your expenses to really give yourself a true picture of what your net takeaway will be at the end of 2024. If your expenses are what they are and you achieve your goal of hitting your appointments and your closed transactions, it should show you your net takeaway at the bottom. Okay. Any questions?
Kelly, on the expenses, is lead generation, is that including marketing and advertising?
So lead generation, per the MREA, I think, that's the book that we've used and that this is geared towards. I think you can make it whatever, right? Like if you want to lump in your marketing, this is just for you, right? So if you
Gotcha.
say
Okay.
my lead generation, it is my marketing, my advertising, those are all forms of lead generation that you do, right? So I would lump those in, under lead generation if you went in and filled this out. Okay. So like, let's just say you say I spend, $25,000 a year, on lead generation, you can plug it in there, right?
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
and then it'll
That
tell
one's
you what
monthly,
your,
Kelly.
what was that?
That one's monthly, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
2,000, yeah.
Sorry, monthly. Yep. So so if, let's just say
Yeah,
you're
it'll
spending
calculate.
$2,000 a month on lead generation, right? It's going to tell you what your yearly
Mhm.
expense is, right? And so when you plug in your numbers, you're going to have your expenses, your total annual expenses will calculate over here. And then you can come over here
Mhm.
and then you can put in, your expense, you can minus your, or put it
Mm.
in, it'll auto populate down here to your operating expenses. Okay.
I would, if you are going to use the expense side of this, which I would recommend, but do your other numbers first. If you are going to use your expense side of this, I would definitely start out by lumping all of your expenses into these 9 categories. Don't try to manipulate anything because it's there for you already. So just lump them in, do it, see what it comes up with. I did put my email address in the chat. I'm very familiar with this. We kind of grew up with it. So, and we do this for our own team. So reach out to me and let me know if you need some help plugging in your own numbers. If you don't understand anything after the Zoom call, I'm available for some help.
Yeah. And we don't want to get too much in the weeds. This is really getting into some pretty serious business planning, but it does give you an eye opener too, as far as, what you are spending monthly. The MREA book always says like you should keep your total expenses of your income should be somewhere around that 29% of your gross income. You shouldn't be spending any more than that on expenses for your business. Right. So that just kind of helps keep things in perspective. But again, our main focus is this side of the economic model that we'll send you. We want you to at least just get to the point of what's your income goal and how do you get there from a appointment standpoint and a daily call standpoint. Okay. Any questions there?
Kelly,
Yeah.
Kelly,
Yes.
is there, so now this is your goal. Do you have a tracker to be able to follow monthly to see where you're
Yep. So that's what we're going to
track
go
for or
over.
not?
That's what we're going to go over next week. We're going to really break it down. We're going to use a tool called the 411.
Okay.
And then we're going to use a tool called the 135. Okay. And that's really taking your yearly, your monthly, and what you do on the weekly basis.
Mhm.
And we'll have you build that form. And then that's where you're going to just keep that posted somewhere every month. You're going to do a new one, right? And every day you're going to look at that. So you know what you need to do. And then there are additional tracking forms that I'm happy to send, like call forms. People use a daily call log. I'll load those up in Empire as well so that you can download those and use those. We used to use it, if you had 10 calls you need to make, there's a place where you can write down who you called, did you connect with them or did you have to leave a message? If you ever make a phone call, that is not a contact. And when I say you have to, when we broke down our example today and it was 10, I keep saying 10 calls a day, it's 10 contacts a day. You might have to make 30 calls or 30 visits or whatever before you make 10 contacts face-to-face a day. That's what that number is. Okay. It's contacts, not phone calls. So that's super important, you guys. If you make a phone call and you leave a message, that's not a contact. Okay. So when we broke this down, 48 appointments divided by 2% gave us 24 contacts for the year, divided by 260 days. That's 9 point whatever contacts a day. Make sense?
Kelly, those are
The other-
the contacts you're counting, or you had a conversation about real estate.
Correct. A legitimate, not like, hey, Susie, how you doing? Loved your outfit that you posted on Facebook. Have a great day, right? We're having a conversation about real estate. Okay. So that could be someone called in on one of your listings. That could be You know, you followed up on a FISBO, you made a FISBO contact, right? You called expireds, whatever your lead generation is that you're doing, you're actually physically having a conversation about real estate. The goal is for you to try to set an appointment. Okay.
So one other quick thing that I just want to shoot in here, Denise asked about further tracking of this, and Kelly mentioned the 411, and so everything Kelly's going to do is like physical paper, right? So you track that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. If you are a little bit more techie, there are programs out there that track it online for you. One that we use, and I'm not here to push anything, but I'm just here to give you guys as much information as we can. We use a company called CTE. It is cheap. I would say it's 10 to 20 bucks a month, but it tracks everything online for you. I won't say any more about it, but we can put you in touch with the guy that created it, same guy that created this.
Yes, it stands for commitment to excellence. So, yep. But that's a fabulous tool as well. That's what we use to just track our stuff all through the year. It lets us know if we're online to hit our goals, where we're falling short, what we need to beef up. So it's a great tool. So, okay. So the last thing, now that you've got your numbers, right? You know what you need to do. You know how many contacts you have to have per day. You know how many appointments you need to set. How are you guys going to do that? I want to focus the last part of our meeting here, this last maybe 10, 15 minutes, on what are the lead generation activities that work good for you. Because what I want you to do, and I've already posted this in Facebook, is I'm going to stop my share here just for a second. And I want to grab my other post here. I want to see where I found. Hold on one second, guys. Whoops. Sorry, here's the new techie part of me. Are you seeing my, oh, can you see this, you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've posted this on Empire Facebook already. So what I want you to do in preparation for next week is we want to determine what are going to be your top 3 lead generation pillars that are going to be where you focus in 2024 to get your business, right? And then we're going to narrow it down to your number 1 source, because we're going to want you to basically go all in on your number 1 source for sure. But you got to have maybe a couple other ancillary sources that you're working on to get your leads, right? So throw out some good lead generation sources that have worked for you guys. Let's just kind of have a brainstorm here and maybe open up the eyes to some of the people on here to some other opportunities for lead generation sources. What do you guys use?
Open houses.
Awesome. Open houses. And I would even say, Angela, open houses at a high level, right? There are agents that make almost probably 80% of they hit 80% of their goal just doing open houses. Now that is not me. I hate open houses, but I do them. But some people just take them to the nth degree, and they really, excuse me, really do a great business. Anybody have that success with open houses? Like really, that's just one of your top sources of lead gen? Okay. I would say there was, and I don't remember, Angela, the lady's name that was in your business planning session last year that just did this, like, wow, like a wow factor open house. And she shared so many great things. I wish I could remember what those were, but we're talking, she puts out, 14 signs, not your typical 4 to 5 that most of us do. She's prepping it. She's walking the neighborhood ahead of time, inviting the neighbors. She's putting door hangers on the doors. If they aren't home, letting people know when that open house is, inviting them. She's bringing in cookies and hot cocoa or whatever the thing is. She's really doing this at a high level. So that she gets a great return and gets the results out of that lead generation activity. we never want to do something that's not bringing us a return, right? So what's the lead generation activity that you do that gives you the highest return? Anybody have any other?
Mine has been past clients.
Okay, so
Mine has
what do you
been
do for with your past clients? What do you do for them?
Can you restate your question?
Yeah, why is this your number one lead generation source? What do you do with your past clients that produces more income for you?
I would have to say contributing, giving ahead, and also just keeping in touch on a regular
Okay. So when you keep
basis.
in touch,
Yeah,
Denise,
making
what do you
it
do?
more, well, I just had a client appreciation. And also a lot of my clients have become my friends. So there's just that, and so it's a real personal feeling. I'm doing this because I need to branch out from that because it's very comfortable, but it's not it. I need to do other things. So, but
Well,
that has worked for me.
Okay, awesome. And I would say that's Bruce and our team. That's our number one source is our sphere, right? We are going all in this year. Like we are doubling down because that's where we get probably 80% of our business comes from our sphere. So why wouldn't you keep feeding that bear, right?
Yeah.
So what we're doing, and we did this year, but we're gonna, change and even add to, we do basically a VIP happy hour every month, right? We have our VIP group, not just our sphere, but we have our top people that we know if they are ever in a conversation where they hear someone talking about real estate, they're going to mention our name, right? So we do a VIP happy hour every month and we invite them. We also do client appreciation events, right? So that includes all of our sphere. So we will do Cinco de Mayo. We call it Cinco de Mayo, right? And we do that every year and we invite them all and we have tacos and margaritas and whatever. And we do that. That's kind of our signature event. And then we do a fall event, right? Where it's outside, we're at a park, we invite people, we have food and pumpkins and whatever, right? You can do whatever you want to do, but that's what we do for our sphere. We are in constant contact with our sphere. Probably we have maybe, I don't even know how many touches per month, Bruce, if you can indicate that.
So to our sphere, we probably have anywhere from, it all depends on the month and the holidays and things like that, but anywhere from 6 to 10 touches per month to our sphere.
Yeah.
And then we like Kelly said, we invite him to things and we do the personal touches. And Denise, it sounds like we are in the same boat that you are, where most of our stuff comes from our friends. They've become our friends. Our clients are our friends.
But I will tell you guys, whatever your activity is, you have to remain purposeful, right? So because they've become friends and you become comfortable, we can't forget the reason we're doing this. So if you do the VIP happy hour or you do the client appreciation event, we need to be purposeful in the fact that, hey guys, we've had the success that we've had because of you. This is why we're where we're at, and we're able to give back to the community because of you. So, we want you to continue to support us, and we love that you do, and we want to keep loving on you. And we hope that every time you think or you hear of somebody with real estate needs, that you think of us, right? You want to remind them, this is why you're in this group, right? This is why we're having these events, is because we love you and we want you to keep loving us, right? So just be purposeful in whatever your lead generation source is. Other sources, you guys, you sell somebody a home and you can throw a housewarming party. We had an agent last year that talked about that's what they do. And they do that at a high level too. Every time their buyers close, they get their buyers to give them an invite list with emails. Great way to also feed your database, right? Now you're getting the emails of your buyers' friends and family, and then you're sending out the invites to them to do a housewarming gift, and you're catering, you tell them, hey, I'll do 30 people or I'll do 50 people. Give me the names of 50 friends and family. I'll send out the invites. I'll bring the food. You just host the party and you can showcase your brand new home, right? So it's a great way to feed your database, like I said, and get back in front of them, and your buyer will be bragging about what a great job you did to all their friends and family, and you'll be there so you can meet them all face to face. Okay. We talked about this, I think last week or a couple weeks ago when we were talking about engagement ideas. Not only can you do housewarming parties for your buyers, you can do the last hurrah party for your sellers. Maybe your seller's getting ready to move and they want to invite their friends and family to do a final party in the house before they move. Another way to meet more people, right? Join networking groups, you guys. Great way to lead generate. You know, there's a lot of business to business, or what do they call that? I'm not in one of those, but the networking groups. There's network mastery groups, whatever. There's builder association groups. There's young professional groups, things like that, right? Where you can join and network. There's the Chamber of Commerce. There's things like that, right? Get involved in some of those. You'll meet a lot of people in your community who you never know who they know. Maybe you're big on video or blogs or podcasts. Maybe that's your thing that you want to do this year, or that you've done and you've gotten great return on. Whatever your lead generation source is, I want you guys to pick your top 3. Where did you get the most business from in 2023? List those 3 top lead generation sources that you got the most business from, that you're going to feed your little funnel. You know, if we think of a big funnel, we put as much as we can in on the top, and we know not everything comes out the bottom as business, right? So we want to use the 3 best sources that are going to give us the most opportunity for business to feed that funnel, that will trickle down to hopefully some closed business at the bottom, right? And money at the bottom. And so then when you fill out this sheet, which I have already posted on Facebook Masterminds, top 3, and then I want you to put your number 1 lead source on the bottom. What gave you the most business in 2023? Okay, because that's what we're going to double down on in 2024. Okay, then you can go a little bit further and just say, why is it your number 1? Why was the reason that is your number 1 source? Okay, and we're going to use this for next week when we start to really drill down on our strategy and to formulate your actual plan or roadmap to meet your goals for 2024. Okay, any questions on this? Awesome. So I know it's a little bit of work between mastermind sessions, but honestly, we're creating basically your rough draft for your whole plan, right? So you figured out your big why you're doing this, and what's going to really push you to do it last week. This week, we've given you the economic model to break down your goal into the daily contacts that you have to make. And then you're also going to figure out, where are your leads coming from? Where is the most amount of your business coming from? And then next week, we're going to create the map. We're going to give you the strategies, or develop the strategies for you to make those contacts, you know, to meet those goals, to get you that income goal that you have at the end of the year. Okay. Any questions on this? Awesome.
Do you know the name of the woman that does the open houses on steroids that you mentioned?
Yeah. Do you remember her name, Angela? She was at our business plan. I want to say it's not Kim. I'll find out.
I think she's out of the Stillwater market. I believe I think it was Cheryl Larson out of Stillwater.
Yes, I think it was. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Awesome. Thank you.
She's with EXP, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah. So Cheryl Larson, EXP, Stillwater. Yeah. She's amazing. She does a lot of things pretty high level. I think she also does buyer housewarming parties too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah,
Awesome.
she'd be a great agent to mastermind with.
Kelly,
Awesome.
can I make one reference, just real quick, one reference in regards to the economic model? And I know Bruce can go over this with anyone if you have further questions, but if you are not with EXP, that line 6, where it has the company dollar cap, like, because we're at a company that caps, meaning we stop taking company dollar after you've paid in $16,000. If you're at a company that does not cap, I guess maybe you have a different recommendation, Bruce, until we get this changed, but that I would just put it even as your desired income, because you're clearly not going to pay your company dollar the same as your desired income. but that way when it calculates down to your company dollar paid in, you have a true number. Does that make sense?
You mean make this 0? Can you guys see the economic model on
No,
my
so
screen again?
yeah, the number
Yes.
6, we have it at 16,000 because that's our cap.
Yep.
But if we have anyone on the call that always pays in company dollar on every transaction,
Right, where they never cap, they're always doing a
never
split with the
cap.
brokerage.
yes,
Yep.
then that wouldn't be that number. You wouldn't put
Right.
it at 0.
That would be a 0 then. So if you're at a brokerage where you never cap, every deal you do, you have a split, then you would have 0 in this cap.
Well,
Okay.
no, you
I
wouldn't.
don't think so.
You-
Yeah, I
you
don't think it will
wouldn't.
calculate right
There's
then.
still a cost, there's still a cost for the company dollar. So you would scroll up a little bit,
Yeah,
please. So you would
right, but
take
doesn't that
the
show right
15
here at
listings in-
80%, you guys?
No,
Oh.
you take the 15 listings into 12 buyers.
Yeah.
So the
Oh.
27, and you multiply that by by your average sale price, and then you get your commission dollars. This is getting into the weeds a lot, but
It is. I'm sorry.
that's okay. But you'd get your commission that you pay or that you earn on all of these deals. And then what you do is if your company split is, let's say 90-10, you'd take 10% of that commission and you'd throw it into that number.
And that's where I said, I know we went in the weeds and I didn't mean to, but I think if you put even right now, because it automatically caps, if you put that as the same number as your desired income, it really is, it's saying like you never have a cap right there. So it wouldn't be 0. So Kelly, just put in 300 and then down there, it should, I would think, just pull based on what your split is. So if you go to line.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
Yes, so does that make sense? So that's why I just
Yes.
thought, make it easy. Put your company dollar the same as your desired income, because you're never going to pay in all of your desired income to your company, but then whatever your splits are for every transaction, it will auto calculate down to that total company dollar paid.
Right,
line.
because you've put in your company split here on line 15. So that's why it'll give you basically 80% of that. So
Right. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on the weeds. I
no,
just-
that's
Good
perfect
idea.
because there are agents on here that don't have a cap, right? So
Okay, yeah, so
um,
that's a big difference if you're looking down at your net income goal,
right,
right?
absolutely.
Okay, sorry.
No, thank you.
That's awesome.
Why
Great
that's why I
question.
love having you on here. Does that make sense, you guys?
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. If you guys are filling this out, like Bruce said, and you have questions and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm totally confused. I'm not, this isn't working for me. Reach out to either myself or Bruce. We are happy to help walk you through this. Literally, once you know your numbers, this will take you not even a minute really to fill in, or a few minutes, right? And then you're gonna, like I said, you'll take it that next step further of taking your total number on line 26, add those together and divide by 2%, and then divide by 260 days to get your daily activities. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I so appreciate you doing this. I'm hopeful that you are putting the time in so that you do have a clear map by the time we're done with this on really how to kick some butt in 2024. Again, reach out if you have questions. We'll post this on Empire. Check the Facebook page. If you are not a member of the Facebook page, join, because then you can go under the files tab and you'll get all of these sheets, and all of the information that we're talking about will be there for you. So that it's just super easy. You can download it and print it out so you have it for every year going forward. Okay. Thank you. Have a great Wednesday. I will see you guys next week when we wrap this up by really putting our final map together. Okay. So have a great week. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, guys.
Great call, Kelly. Thanks.
All right.
Bruce.
Bye-bye.